Welcome to This Explainer. I'm your host, but for today's journey into the shadows, you can just call me The Wit. We're going to dive deep into a delightfully dark, highly theatrical graphic novel that serves as a profound fable about the disastrous hubris of absolute logic. We're unpacking The Last Architect and the Grave Dance of Stasis. Now, if you've ever tried to perfectly control every single aspect of your life, only to watch it spectacularly unravel, you are going to find this explainer absolutely fascinating. So let's pull back the heavy velvet curtains and set the stage for our tragic protagonist, a being so terrified of the unpredictable that he tried to put the entire universe in a straitjacket. And here is exactly how it all began. In the cold, early dawn of thought, there stood Sinos the Pale Cynic. Sinos was a creature of pure, cold intellect. When he looked out at the sheer existence of reality, he didn't see wonder, he saw a meaningless error, a tasteless broth of motion. That is literally how he viewed the unpredictable mischief of the cosmos. It deeply offended his desperate craving for absolute stillness. Imagine looking at a breathtaking, chaotic, swirling galaxy and only feeling a desperate urge to hit the pause button forever. Well, that was Sinos.
Section 1. Dawn of the Pale Cynic. Craving absolute stasis.
Let's dissect how Sinos sought to cure this craving. Notice the sheer contrast we're dealing with here. We have the vibrant universe full of unpredictable mischief, a fluid living celestial dance, and completely opposed to it, the pale cynic. You see, underneath that pure, cold intellect was actually a deep, hollow fear of cosmic chaos. Sinos was basically a paranoid survivalist. He just couldn't handle the unknown. So, he decided the only way to survive was to impose a final, terrible order on everything. He wanted to replace the dynamic reality of the cosmos with an immutable master architecture that was entirely dead and entirely predictable.
Section 2. The Logical Prison. Forging Dark Pacts.
So how exactly does one go about putting the universe in a cage? Driven by his fear, the architect forged a dark pact with the creed of the mind, which represents the primal id, basically a survivalist desire for final order. But to enforce this regime of static control, he needed tools, what he called Apollonian gaskets. These were rigid laws and gilded cages of logic provided by the truth-telling monster, representing the superego. This monster acted as an arbiter of stasis to bind the fluid spirit of existence. Honestly, the sheer clinical absurdity of it. Imagine trying to enforce static control on a living, breathing cosmos using mathematical gaskets. It's almost funny how seriously he took himself.
Let's walk through the chronological entrapment of the architect. Step 1. He makes that primal pact with the id, committing to replacing reality with his immutable master architecture. Step 2. He receives the tools, those Apollonian gaskets, from the superego. And step 3, well, here's the grand irony. In his obsession with using these tools to lock away the universe's secrets, he unknowingly steps right into the trap himself. He becomes totally trapped in his own gilded cage. Together, they authored a chilling blueprint called the Creed of the Cosmic Mind. The goals were simple, but absolutely terrifying. First, trap the universe in frozen perfection. Second, enforce a manufactured silence. But the absolutely crucial point is that last step. By trying to lock everything else away, the last thinker constructed a tomb of his own making. He ended up sitting breathless and completely isolated within that manufactured silence. He thought he was building a throne room, but he actually built his own mausoleum.
Section 3. The Crimson Mask. Unearned Majesty.
It is time to completely rip back the curtain and expose his so-called unearned majesty. The architect loved to present himself as the master of frozen perfection, strutting around in black, mocking priestly robes as if he were performing the sacred stage play for the void. But hidden beneath this pristine facade of logic was the Crimson Mask. This was a visceral, bloody symbol proving that the architect was secretly wedded to the very thing he claimed to despise. He claimed to hate chaos, but he was secretly aligned with the blood-slicked chaos and the all-consuming maw. His obsession with control was in reality just a ritualistic bridge to feed the raw hunger of the void. A grand pursuit of order written in disappearing ink. Oh, the sweet irony of it all. We just have to gloat over this fact for a second. His entire creed, his massive master architecture, his pristine regime of static control, it was all a complete lie. It was written in disappearing ink, ensuring that the cosmic page would eventually be left utterly blank. He thought he was the ultimate author of reality, but he was literally just erasing himself.
Section 4. Unbinding the Cage. A Surreal Playhouse.
And how is that heavy, manufactured silence finally broken? by me, the wit, a jagged blade of laughter wielding the unbinding power of the absurd. The manufactured silence of the architect's tomb is finally sliced wide open. And you know how he's defeated? Not with a bigger, better logic. No way. With laughter. I arrive and just begin to peel away those rigid, Apollonian gaskets and logical cages like dead skin. The architect's grim, super-serious mental fortress undergoes this hilarious, grotesque transformation into a complete surreal playhouse.
Oh, to be a fly on the wall for this moment. The architect is forced to watch his precious, immutable architecture simply melt. It melts into what the story calls the logic of the crucible. Now, this isn't a quick destruction. It's a slow, highly colorful death of logic itself. Just think about the sheer hilarity of this control freak, this pale cynic who hated the tasteless broth of motion, suddenly watching his perfectly ordered geometric cages turn into a psychedelic melting puddle of absurdity. You really can't help but relish the colorful demise of his precious stasis.
Section 5. Perpetual Grave Dance, stripped of authority.
And so his tragicomic arc was complete. The last thinker is now entirely stripped of his authority, left bare in the ruins of his own making. We started in Epoch 1 with his arrogant dawn of cold intellect. Then we moved into Epoch 2, his brief, manufactured era of frozen perfection and gilded cages. Then, Epoch 3, the wit arrives with the absurd unbinding, totally melting the fortress. And finally, Epoch 4. The last thinker becomes a submissive witness to the infinite motion of the cosmic broth he once completely hated. He is doomed to perform a perpetual grave dance, the ultimate control freak forced to dance forever to the unpredictable rhythm of the universe. Remember this, the spirit of becoming thrives in the dark, fertile ground of the void. This is the core of what you should take away from this explainer today. From the melted ruins of stasis, the chaotic, vibrant spirit of becoming emerges completely victorious. The universe isn't a meaningless error. It is a living, breathing entity that flat out refuses to be caged. While the architect performs his sad little grave dance, life and motion spring up from the very void he tried so hard to sterilize.
So, I want to leave you with this haunting question to ponder as we wrap up. What gilded cages of logic do you build to hide from the dark, fertile ground of your own chaotic reality? How often do we act just like the pale cynic, trying to control the uncontrollable, creating manufactured silences just to feel safe? Remember the last architect. Embrace the absurdity, allow a little laughter to unbind your rigid cages, and learn to dance with the chaos before it forces you to. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.